I got a layer. It's live.
Ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're but why? Usually it's all rolling. But
Why am I seeing even on the street?
that's good. Your. Oh.
Ready? All right, we're live. And we're following this regular meeting of the Woodbury City Council. The order is about 3:04 p.m. October 25th. And we're here in City Hall. Welcome everyone. I will ask everyone to rise for a moment of silence and remain standing for the pledges. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag as pledge allegiance to the effective one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. The city secretary can call the roll. Forum.
Mayor Joe Fresco,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brett Foley,
Here.
Councilmember Linnea Bailey. Here. Councilmember Chris Hermert,
Here.
Councilmember Bob Hambrick,
Here.
Councilmember Deborah Hines. Here. And we've got our attorney Charles Beck and city manager Kevin Rule on Zoom.
Great. Welcome, everybody. And I believe we had somebody sign up for public comment.
We have two.
All right, we'll begin with Ms. Iris Ramos.
So it occurred to me today, before I signed up, that I'd never formally introduced myself to you as the board, the tree board, City of Wood Creek, the chair, actually the chair, City of Wood Creek. And I thought it would be kind if I let you know some of the things we've been doing before we ask for money. It just seemed reasonable to me. We're currently working on Arbor Day, and as you probably, most of you know, we are Tree City USA designation that we worked on really hard last year. We've only been functioning 1 year, but we have a plaque, and we have a lot of things that we have to do for that. But below all of that is really our mission to take care of the trees here in the creek, and to do our very best to educate the community about what is happening to the trees and what we can do to protect them and punish them. Sure, anyway, at Arbor Day this year, we're going to have Carl Falke give a demonstration with signboards that were suggested by Rollins about oak growth, so people can see it and touch it, but also a PowerPoint, and then there'll be a field trip down the street, hopefully in golf carts, to look at it so that our community can see it in action. There's a lot of information that's going to be there. We're going to have popcorn, balloons, food truck, and hopefully a tree planting, and depending on the water restrictions. Now, I've consulted with Parks Board representatives, including some of the master naturalists who are doing the landscaping, about what kind of trees we need. And as a city, we need to look ahead in terms of what's happening in terms of climate, drought, heat, and start planting and landscaping that will continue to provide our city with a beautiful landscape, a place to live, and oxygen for ourselves to breathe, but that will survive. So we are hoping to have a tree planting this year as well. And we need money to do that. And along with that, or maybe I should say as well as that, we really need your help. We want to work on grants to be able to come up with some monies for the community to help our residents replace their trees. And how am I doing on time?
36.
And we need a tree arborist. We need a city arborist. We can't do anything with our trees to cut them down unless we have a certified arborist on board that we can work with in conjunction. So please feel free to reach out to me, ask me questions, make comments, tell me what you want us to do. And we'll try to work cooperatively with everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chairwoman Reynolds. Looking forward to Arbor Day. And next, Jose Toro.
Hi, I'm Jose Toro. 2 weeks ago, I came here and I presented you some photos showing the before and after of the paving job that had been done in our driveway. I just wanted to let you know that we've had about a week and a half with completely dry weather, but yes, between yesterday and this morning, we had about 0.6 inches worth of rain, and the edge of our driveway got about ½ an inch of water into it. The flow that goes to the concrete path at the intersection between Spalding and Wilson that should have carried the water away ended up becoming about 4 inches deep. And that space at the peak yesterday afternoon was about 6 feet by 10 feet long. In addition, there are major water drainage issues on McGregor, and the houses that are on the intersection of McGregor and Spalding, particularly number 10 Spalding, their entire driveway and front yard is just a marsh, you know, the water, standing water that's really visible. So I urge you to not accept the job that's been done by Alpha Paving so far and make them come back and put water guides some way, somehow, so that we can use the channels that used to be there and the concrete pads that are still there to be able to help carry some of the water away. And I also urge you to find money to be able to go do a proper drainage study for the areas in our little neck of the woods, plus Fremont and Champion Circle, plus Brook Hollow, plus Wildwood, the parts that are that seem to be flooding out constantly. I know there's about $500,000 that should be available for something like this, but that will be maybe a quarter, maybe a fifth of what we need. So some way, somehow, if we can find a way to go get funds to be able to go do this job properly, the neighborhoods would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may make a factual statement. So there is money left over in the bonds of fixing the roads.
Okay.
So a lot of the discussion has been about putting the money towards projects like that, like drainage projects, traffic calming projects. There is money available.
That would be divine.
So I'll let you know that.
On the other hand, I'm sure there'd be a lot of people standing alone. Thank you.
Perfect. In the interest of your time. I'm gonna make a quick move on the agenda and move 4 and 5 up, before the consent calendar so that we can recognize, Mr. Abney and then give, Chairperson Rawlings a chance to give his presentation on the Hays County Post Act. So,
Thank you, Mayor. Today we, well, as you know, we established this award to thank people, you know, who have done above and beyond to help our community and to make us remember why we live here, man. And today we have the honor of recognizing someone, Cody Abney. Is it John Cody Abney or is it Cody Abney?
I go by Cody. My name
Okay.
is John C. Cody Abney.
Okay, good. I was petrified that I got it wrong on the award, but, I'm gonna just quote from what it says on the certificate, and we somehow ended with 2 of them.
yeah.
So you could put one in your office and one in your home. man.
And also, hang it from the rearview mirror.
Fantastic. Right. And what it says is we want to thank you for the extraordinary service and hard work that you have provided to your neighbors and to this community. And then we go on to say, we also thank you for the stitches that you've incurred and still help us. Because I know you almost managed to cut one of your legs off while you were out with a chainsaw.
It wasn't that bad. He's not very good with it.
Right. But I mean, you've helped us with parks, you've helped us with roads, the ice storms we've had, you know, anytime, anywhere.
Snowmageddon.
Say again?
Snowmageddon.
Yeah.
That's how I've heard that, Cody.
Yeah, that's the first time. But anytime, anywhere, you're one of these guys that when people need help, you don't run away, you run to them. And, for that, we thank you. You know, we really do. I refer to you as a big-hearted warrior, and that's what you are, a big-hearted warrior who's always got his heart in the right place for us and for our community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. A lot of people recommended you for this. Deborah, Jeff, Pat, everybody. So I'm going to give everyone else a chance to thank you, in their own words. So get ready, man. Jeff?
Well, you know, big-hearted warrior, that's good. I always just say hero. That's how I thought of you from the first time I saw you pulling through the driveway, you know, after Snowmageddon and, you know, trying to dole out water. And then on the first morning of the ice storm, you know, I'd already been getting buzz from Chris that, you know, hey, there's limbs cracking and falling all over the place. And I was like, oh, that's what that noise was. And so I said, okay, first light, I'm going out. And so I go out and Cody, here comes Cody around the corner. He's already out, you know, getting it done. And, that is the spirit of Wood Creek, and we couldn't thank you enough.
You're welcome.
And it's like, food tank, you name it, Cody, and a lovely family.
Go ahead.
I met Cody at the same time that everyone else did during the snow bid. And, don't know too many people will go out, spend their own time and their own resources to repair all number of things as far as, water that's going everywhere and cutting, turning it off and fixing it. But just this last summer, just the bookend at the other end of it, out in the heat on this backhoe, he said it would only take a couple hours. It took more than a couple of hours. And to watch him pull every little stump and rock out that needs to come out. Some of it's still sitting out there, I believe. But, that's a lot of work. And he did it. He even took his boy out there. It looked like a good time. And Cody had to carefully direct him, you know, get on, be careful and all, because that's a pretty big piece of machinery that you, were more than voluntarily did all that work. We very much appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'd like to just say as the chair of the Parks Board that Cody has been indispensable on there, and we couldn't have especially done Creekside Park, which he came up with the name for, and it just stuck. And as you said, with the backhoe and just all of his operational knowledge with building stuff and staging stuff and reminding me to hold people's feet to the fire when it's necessary, and other times cutting people slack when I wasn't, you know, cutting them slack. So no, and the fact that he's been on 2 boards, chairing the other board, the roads board, and then on our board, I'm just grateful he didn't dump us for the road.
Thanks, Matt. Deborah, did you have?
I mean, I'm just gonna repeat everything everyone said, but, when it came to it, it had been a while since we had given this award out, and when I heard about the on the backhoe, I reached out to Mayor Pro Tem Foley and was like, this guy needs an on the board, because I know you won it as part of our proposed act, but, this community is indebted to you in so many ways, and, I just, Wood Creek at this point is, you're a backbone here. And I hope to get you on the Zane Council one of these days, but, I respect.
I keep saying.
I love that you take charge and lead in any position you're given, and that, as they said, anytime there's an emergency, you run to it. And in my family, we call that the hero gene, and not everybody has it. And so we're just really grateful that you're here and that you picked Wood Creek and that you continue to support in any way you can.
Thank you.
I've known Cody longer than the ice storm, on the roads committee. And I'm here in Bureau, but also Cody is a father, a full-time employee. He's not retired like some of us, and yet he manages to focus his time and make it count. And that's inspirational for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
You're the first one to get 2 awards, man, so.
It's actually great, I get one on all this.
We have a ton of frames, so I just printed one off the computer. So
Okay.
that's probably the original from the print shop, and that's.
Yeah, now they're mixed up, I don't know which is which anymore, so.
This one was-
Give me the original, it's prettier.
Yeah.
But there were 2 at the print shop.
I got
See
the other
the
one.
print shop?
Oh, you only picked up one?
No, I got 2.
Oh, okay.
Everything's.
Frank, you wanna?
Why don't we just all come around?
Yeah.
Just make it, everybody come around, go in front, we'll just gather around. Everybody's got nice things to say about him, so.
You want to get a picture with?
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, you can have the other one.
Yeah, you
I'll
can.
put one in the office too. Might as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's free.
We'll go against that wall. The far
Oh,
wall.
okay.
Okay, yeah, put it in there.
We want everybody?
Yeah, just here.
Essentially, no, it's getting in the back.
Tall people in bed. Lay this down.
We'll do one.
Forgive me.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's just look prettier.
1, 2, 3. I think I'm okay.
cool. Thanks, y'all. Really appreciate it, y'all.
Thank you, listen to Pat too.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna listen to Pat.
Oh, okay, you can correct me as I go along.
So Monica gets stuck in the school line, pickup line with the kids.
Oh,
She's in my truck, that's just happened to me too. You know that, really?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, she's stuck, she can't get my truck out of the park. Oh, gosh. It's electronic.
She's fine, though.
We'll send Cody out there.
Yeah.
Not a mechanic. I had to pay it out of that.
All right. So next we're gonna move to, item number 5, which is the presentation and discussion on the, Hayes County putback, grant, and, we just want to get a progress report. I think you got a presentation.
Yeah, Suzanne's got it on the computer. And I discovered that what it looks like on my computer and what it looks like on the city computer isn't the same thing. Yours has a bad typeface.
I don't think the city can afford the hardware you have, Pat.
Well,
Yeah,
let's see, should I sit down or should
you do not have to sit down.
I? Okay.
Well, if you expect me to see anything.
Well, yeah, let me sit down. Let me sit. That's probably better. It's always awkward with me. It's, okay. Can you do full screen?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm just trying to get it to come up on the Zoom so everybody can see it.
Okay, and you also, did you have a printout as well? I heard there might have been a printout.
I did not hear that.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't.
Why did it?
Okay.
You need to open the thing and start it, start
I
it
had
as a
closed it and
slideshow.
closed it.
Yeah, no, you had the app open, but you didn't have it running as a slideshow, when you hit the close button, it closed it. So hit the play, hit the show slideshow, no, not yet,
Not
go
yet.
back to your PowerPoint. No, start the slideshow.
You can get PowerPoint's not gonna run if you're not signed into
It's not gonna
the
run.
office.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not signed into, are you?
She has stay signed in.
I know about this.
Are you running off
Got
that?
360 on the cloud. This one is.
I hate subscriptions. I don't have any subscriptions. Well, let me just start talking about it a little bit before we get into it. This has been a project that once we hit the ground running with it, it was kind of a hurry up and wait. And so we had to put a lot of different orders in. And then we just had to kind of twiddle our thumbs for anywhere from a month to 2 months for the stuff to start arriving. And okay. Okay, and then up to slideshow, up the top, very top.
Oh, right here. Sorry, guys.
Okay, that's good. And as you see, the type fell off the side anyway, so you'll have to remember what the rest of the word is. Yeah, basically, as you know, we had 3 different areas we were concentrating on. The triangle is the one that is closest to completion. We got the slab in at or under budget. The gazebo came in exactly on budget, except for the assembly, the description was that it was going to take 1 to 2 days to assemble. And the gentleman that was assembling it also had not been informed that we were using concrete anchors. So we ended up going, it was originally budgeted, I think, at $1,100, and we ended up at $1,700. But considering how long he worked and such, it was still a bargain, and still, I think, $2,000 less than the next lowest bid. So we had some contingency in there for that. We are in the process. I've been talking to the city manager about getting a box in there to put some very inexpensive games like a fabric checkerboard, little cheap giant checkers, and a folding card table and some stackable chairs that we can hopefully fit in there without affecting the appearance of it too much, so people can come up and use it for a variety of things that way. Already seen people in there playing, what do they call it, go ball? Gaga, whatever. Little kids in there kicking the ball around and stuff. And we've had inquiries about birthday parties and other events there. Okay, next slide, please. Going to Augusta Park. We have, if you see the brown area here between the parking and the bocce ball, if you go to the next slide, I think, yeah, that's about 75% complete. And as soon as we receive the ping pong table, they will install that and anchor it in with concrete, so it can't be loaded in the back of a pickup truck and driven off. We also have a similar couple of small areas over at the side of the park where the concrete cornhole games are going to go, and they prepared those as well. Next slide. Oh, let's see. Go back. Yeah, forward. One more. Okay. And just kind of a reminder of the layout on Creekside Park. Everything is pretty much as it was originally planned. We still have the easement down the side. We actually have almost exactly that amount. The problem that occurred is the installer of the playscape told me that when they decided to start installing this playscape, they had to have all of the stuff on the truck to do it. I said, okay, sounds good to me. We don't want to start and stop. And I found out about 2 days before they left that the rope flower portion of the playscape had not been delivered. And they just discovered it in going through the stacks and stacks and stacks of crates they have there. And they inquired, and about a week and a half ago, it was on a boat about to dock in San Diego. And so I had some rather stern conversations with a variety of people at our vendor and said, I know you can't do anything about getting the ship there any faster, but I fully assume that at the point that it hits the shore, you're going to have wheels under it and hot shot it to us as quickly as possible. Because we don't need to have what appears to be a functional park sitting there that we have to keep children off of. I mean, it's generally as safe as it's going to be once the rope flower is in there, but you don't want to kind of open the spigot and then cut it back off again. So we put some signage on the fence that indicates it's not quite completed. It will be done soon. Their estimate on getting it in when I talked to them about a week and a half ago was a week and a half to 2 weeks. So it should be in at any time. Should probably take them 1 to 3 days to install it because they've only got to anchor down, I think, 4 concrete posts to put this whole big pyramid thing with the ropes in it. The installation that they've done at this point is very impressive anyway. It's bulletproof. I climbed all over it and shook it, and it didn't, 220 pounds, it wasn't going anywhere. It's very sturdy. The swing sets are complete in the back. And as you see, they've got a foot deep of the engineered wood fiber, and it's like walking on a mattress. So if kids fall off, they'll just kind of sink into it, and it should be fun.
Never find them again.
Yeah. Dig them out of it. We held off. We had a vendor contractor ready to install the parking lot, but then once I talked to the installers, they said, no, it'll be totally trashed. And so we're waiting to do that until we can get all of those stumps out of there. There is a decent chance that the installers will load that in a dump trailer or something else and remove them for us. And I'm hoping to use the fact that they're late to use that as a little leverage to encourage them to do so. But if not, we will need to get Waste Connections or something.
Can I ask something about the map? What are those 2 orangey yellow things?
Those are hexagonal picnic tables that have been arbitrarily placed there. One of them probably would be there. And then the other one, it turns out, it turns out we have a very nice open area back here. And originally, when we were talking about doing all of this, we were talking about like a little fitness trail or fitness equipment and such. And I've gotten some comments back from the community that they sure thought that would be cool to have. And so we do have an available area here that you could put a little fitness, they call it Thrive with this particular vendor in this back area. And I applied about 2 weeks ago for a grant with them. And he said that those kind of things are especially acceptable through the grants. So it had a deadline this Friday, but it was turned in, they know it, they're checking on it. I'm using every indiscretion that they have committed as leverage to get them to treat us even nicer than, they have already, and they've been very professional to work with, don't get me wrong. It's not like they're Keystone cops, they're very highly qualified, and their equipment is excellent, but we're just trying to see what we can get, and so we'll see if that happens or not.
Sure.
Anyway, next slide, please. The big square in the upper right-hand corner is the rope flower. So you see how big the footprint on that is. And you look at the rest of it, which is what is there now. And you think the rest of it's big. But wait till the rope flower gets in there. It is. And I've had to answer multiple questions from multiple parents. When is it open? My kid comes by and stares at it every day and stuff. So anyway, next slide, please.
That's awesome.
And that's just a view we had of it earlier. And you see the rope flower in the background. And it is as tall as the tallest portion of the existing structure that's there now. Next slide, please. And picture of it. And the comments that I keep hearing is how well the colors fit in with the natural landscape. It's not some jarring yellow and purple playscape. And I have heard no criticism from anyone on its appearance. So we hope it just kind of disappears until the kids get on it, and then you'll hear a lot of yelling and stuff. But only in the daytime. So next slide. And that's the swing set area. And we worked very hard to save the little Texas persimmon tree. I don't know if ours still here. Okay. And so we did everything we could to retain as many trees without damaging the area. We've got kind of a path that goes between the swing sets, and it feeds off of that easement on the side, so you can actually drive through and get to the other side back there with a vehicle if you need to. So try to keep a little access to different portions of it. Next slide.
That's smart for emergencies.
Oh yeah, well, just, for all sorts of things. This is an overview of where we stand right now with expenditures. Originally, we had allocated $267,000. We had costed out almost 267. We've to date spent 226 and some change. Have about 35K left. And next slide, please. And so on the triangle, we've used most of the funds for that. The electrical is probably going to come in at the budgeted figure of about $2,000. The water fountain slab and some of the other things we've been doing is we've just been having trouble finding contractors to do the little piddling things that we need done. They all want to do the $100,000 home renovations, but a $300 slab is not something they're going to run out and meet me for, So we had what is turned into a contingency fund is we have 2 benches that were budgeted as $1,000 each, and we've got 3 different people that are donating benches. So that $2,000 now can be used for some of the little overages we've had in other.
So you had 2 budgeted, but we're gonna get 3 and they're not gonna cost us anything.
Right. Lorella Broom, Gloria Whitehead, and the Edwards sisters. The Edwards sisters being my wife and her 3 other sisters in this area. So next slide, please. Creekside. We still have, we've not done any landscaping there, and we just arbitrarily put in $3,000 for that. I'm not sure if we're going to need that much or not. I'm kind of feeling that might be a little generous. The parking will come at, I've already got a quote from him for less than $3,000. It's like $2,900. And that's the same guy that prepared the decomposed granite area over at Augusta Park. The fence came in exactly as budgeted, and that fence was $7,000 less than the next lowest bid we had. $7,000 less. And that fence, which is a wonderful fence,
Did it put the wood on the side?
they did everything. And that fence was done in one day. If you ever need a very affordable, very well-done fence, Discount Fencing is the people to go to. And they did the fences around the Tesla Gigafactory. So but the guy was, even though we weren't a big fence, the guy that I dealt with was super helpful and super attentive. We didn't need a construction fence because they got the real fence up in time, so we saved $900 there. The PVC tables, we're going to order. They might have been ordered already. We're kind of in the middle of that. Have they been or not yet? Quite.
I'm not sure, because
Okay.
he's in on it.
Anyway, we discussed it a little bit at the last meeting, but, those tables were $1,300 in the Uline catalog, and, we budgeted $2,800, so those will come in at budget. The bicycle rack, we have 1,000 in there, and that's kind of a nice to have, not a have to have. When I had a bicycle, I never used the rack. I just threw it on the ground like everybody else. But we might want to be a little bit more uptown than that. So anyway, we're approaching the budgeted figure, but the biggest part of it was the playscape. Our tree work cost a little bit more than we budgeted, 300 more, but they also had to do a tremendous amount of work. Next slide, please. Augusta Park. Let's see, this park is the one that we have done the least amount of work on right now because it's already kind of an existing park, so it doesn't quite have to have the degree of remediation. And the work that we have done on it has been more sweat equity by the Camp Young Judea people. And we've retained a lot of the logs that were done by people on Earth Day.
When you said logs, I thought you meant like written logs.
No, the logs, the cedar logs, this was the part of the day where Cody was actually safe. And before he went on to his risky endeavor. And let's see, oh, he's still back here. And let's see, we've got a bunch of signs of a bunch of the indigenous plants that Becky Denton has worked very hard on. We're going to have some very classy, probably better looking than the Wildflower Center signs labeling all of these indigenous plants and how they are helpful to attract different wildlife. We've already purchased the ping pong and the cornhole, and those are on the way. It's just taking them a while to get here. The ping pong table might get here at the end of this week. The bocce ball score thing hasn't been ordered yet. Decomposed granite, we've done half, 70% of that, but we paid for half of it. We're going to have to get some engineered wood and mortar for these hex tunnels. The only real glitch out of the accounting and the ordering is the hex tunnels, which are in the catalog at $5,500, but with our buy board discount are $4,600. We're not included in the 2-page long list of things that were on the order. I had told them in an email to order that, and they didn't include it. And I was not observant enough to notice that it wasn't there, and it didn't come in. So we will still have to buy that, but we've got enough slop otherwise that I think we can stay within budget to get that. And it might be something we have to install ourselves. And the cool thing about Augusta Park is we have one volunteer. Is it Claire?
Claire Palmer.
Claire Palmer, that is getting her master gardener certificate.
Master naturalist.
master naturalist. Sure.
Yes.
Because
I think so.
Because what she's doing is working on the rain garden, and she's been approved by our group to basically, add to the rain garden and do different things that are recommended through the expertise of that particular group.
He has to have a project.
And that's
so,
her
yeah, he
project.
reached out to Becky to work on that together. So.
Yeah, so that has the promise of, instead of looking to the layperson like a bunch of weeds, to be a little bit more landscaped than, and I know it's not a bunch of weeds, but it will, it helps to appeal to the layperson as well. And it will serve the exact same purpose, but maybe look a little bit more tailored.
And have an educational component, which I think was the concept is that lacks now. People, they don't recognize what it is, but also they can't really learn from it.
And we've got signage that will address that. We've got existing signage that, once we understand what her plan is, we then know how to position it. We also have been tripping over scouts that are volunteering to do projects. And we have a Boy Scout that is working on an Eagle project, and he wants to do a miniature rainwater collection thing, little steel roof shed with a tank and gutters, and basically allow it to provide water for the wildlife over there and turn Augusta Park into a certified habitat. And so that's something that they're spring loaded to do and might happen very quickly. Just like they have over, is it the Patsy Glen area over there? And then there's Girl Scout going for her gold award, and Becky and I met with her and her mother. And she is going to do a monarch butterfly way station, which involves both, I think you plant milkweed and you do different things with the positioning of it, and then it has an educational component as well. And then she will address members of the community and stuff about that. So it will make Augusta Park continue to be kind of the natural park that it has always been. So, and I think that's the last slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions?
Oh, please.
So it looks like you're gonna have a remainder in your budget. Do they see that? So do you have plans for that already?
Well, the remainder might not be more than 3 or 4 digits. I mean, we always have things that we can add. There were accessories, like, as I mentioned earlier, we were thinking about the senior fitness stuff. And so that was something that if we could somehow get the grant, and if they needed some matching funds or something, that is one idea. And then there are just other ancillary items that normally would go in parks like this. You know, the bicycle rack, little things like that that still cost money, but we don't have any hard and fast plans because we don't know what we have yet.
Yeah, okay. So is the gazebo open, considered like, I know people have been using it, but
It is open. Kevin and I have asked a landscaping company for a cost estimate to add earth up to the level of the entrance to the gazebo, so that it's not a difficulty for people with walkers or wheelchairs.
okay.
And we also, I've gotten estimates for a 6-foot long wheelchair ramp if we need it, but we might be able to get by with just dirt.
The
So
first step is pretty high. The first step is, yeah,
10 inches,
yeah,
9 or 10 inches.
yeah, I think standard post.
So it sounds like we can expect some more work to be going on there, land moving for the ramps, installation of benches, but for the most part, it's open. I know I went and picked up a bunch of screws. Have they cleaned up yet, or?
Yeah, they've cleaned up as much as they can. It's just like any standard construction project where stuff like that is left from time to time.
Okay, but nobody went around with like a magnet or anything?
No.
Okay. So typically they do that. They come around with a magnet, like after you have, because you can't find all the screws just with your eye. And I think I picked up, I don't know, I sent you a photo, but.
Yeah, there was about 6 or 7 I counted.
Okay, and then you kind of covered a lot of the questions here. One of my biggest concerns was just making sure you all felt like you had enough money to accomplish everything. And then if there was any money asked for y'all to feel supported, to ask for additional funds and that we could adjust. I know we just went through the budget season, but you know, with the timing of these kind of incompletion, it just seems like there might be some kind of last details that come up. You know, anytime you have a project, there's always like, oh gosh, we really would like to have this, like signage or these little kind of.
Well, and we had budgeted for signage. And so I'm also, in fact, I have made a list of park rules and I ran those by the city manager. I don't know if that is something that the council needs to discuss.
I think the Parks Board, you know, if you look at other parks and see what they do and just.
I referred to a number of different ones, like there was one rule that said nobody above the age of 24 can be on this playscape. And I thought, well, that's,
I mean, you know, can't play on it.
if I can't go up there with my grandson or granddaughter, you know, and help them or stuff, I mean, but basically, the 2 most important things you need to put on those signs is when it's open, and that is 8 o'clock, I'd say, till dusk. Yeah. And then the other important thing is play at your own risk. Because, and then the cutoff age to be accompanied by a parent. And I think we were saying 12.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, I thought about 10, but 12 felt a little bit more comfortable. So.
But as far as, you know, having council, workshop the rules part, I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, I went through a number of different rules and then there was the lawyer's version of the rules. You know, you've seen these slit swing as designed by the different people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this was the rules as done by the lawyers, and the lawyers' rules were about 20 rules long. And then down at the bottom, they had 2 little boxes with like 10-point type that have all of these other things to consider. And we're not at liability for this or this or this or this. And so I felt like the more words you put on there, the less chance anybody will read them. So I figured if we had.
Iris, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
Okay. Thank you for letting me say something. I didn't see anything about trash cans or waste management in any of the parks.
Well, we inadvertently included in our order a trash can for Creekside. And I've discussed it with Kevin, and he said, well, I guess we'll have to empty it. But originally, we were mainly doing the pack it in, pack it out thing like Augusta Park. But we have a very nice metal trash can that you can remove the lid, and it's like this big around perforated metal, and you put a bag in it. I don't think it'll be particularly onerous to have a park with that. And we can always add more if you think we should, but honestly, I thought I'd be reprimanded for having one at all. So.
Did the signage say pack it in, pack it out?
Over at Augusta Park.
Yeah, but I mean, the signage that you're contemplating for.
No. No.
This probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
Huh?
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay. but then they see the trash can.
Yeah, so just
They'll just be
plan B.
they're very confused.
And one more thing,
Mhm.
anything about defacing property?
No. I mean, we could, but to me, it's like having a red button and saying, don't push this red button. And I'm thinking that if you tell them not to deface the property, the oppositional, defiant, disorder people will want to deface it.
Just as an aside, if you go to Mountain Crest, they're not facing that part at all. So if we could transfer that to ours, I think that we might not have as much of a problem.
So I think I'm going to tell you, Pat, I found racist graffiti at the.
Oh, no, and that's horrible. That's horrible. And we don't want that, but I came to the conclusion personally, and I stand to be corrected, that if you tell people not to do something, it reminds them that that is something that could be done. And then they will do it, because I've had personal experience with people that behave in such a manner.
Okay,
So that keep our parks beautiful and something.
Oh,
yeah, that's everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Thank you.
one more thing?
Yeah, well, so with the fitness equipment,
Mhm.
I hope that comes back before council, before anything's like finalized on that.
Oh, sure.
My only concern with that part, this is not, I support, the concept. I know it's come up for discussion before with the Parks Board prior to Prozac as something to spend money on for the community.
When it
And
could have been up here at this other park that was an unsuitable place for it.
so my concern with putting it at the playground
Mhm.
is that we're already really at capacity for parking, likely on a regular basis. And so, specifically, that community will also likely be needing to drive there and to use, you know what I mean? So I caution adding more to the park that isn't in keeping with the current uses of the park and the dynamics going on there. Like, if we wanna add more to the park, the seating arrangements for picnics and eating, those kind of things to me make sense. Pursuing a fitness area makes a lot of sense, but maybe not wrapped up into the children's playground.
Yeah, the problem that we have run into continually with parks is limited space.
Yeah.
And so I've thought a whole lot about where to put stuff like that, and I've not come to any good conclusion. And my personal experience, let's say you go to Anytime Fitness. Anytime Fitness, except in the summer, the adults go when the kids are in school. And then the kids come after school. So there potentially that could help with that situation. I'm open for recommendations. If you guys want to buy some additional land or you have recommendations of where we could put it, tell me.
Yeah, I think we're working on like trying to start funds for buying additional land. The other thing to consider with adult fitness equipment is it isn't always necessarily compatible with children. Like I've used it at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildfire Center, and I'm not even confident I was safe on it. Just be, like it's actually kind of depending on what you buy, it's pretty intense.
Well, but I've seen those over there and I felt the same way.
Yeah.
The particular setup that I was talking to the vendor about was one that wasn't articulated.
Good. Okay.
So it would be like things that are just fixed, that like you have a couple of push-up bars that come out of the ground and you do push-ups. Or you have something where you can do your upper body by a chin-up bar or something like that. So there are things that, you know, the person has to use, but instead of having to have a chin-up bar across the top of the doorway, they have one out in nature.
Okay.
So we're looking at stuff that maybe is unarticulated fitness equipment.
Okay.
And kids could use it too. And it might be a way to get some of your kids in the high school area might want to use it just to train locally, you know, instead of going over somewhere. So, good.
Anything else for, Chair Rawlings? Thank you very much, Beth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great job, really.
Okay. And thank you very much, council, for all of your support.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you on Sunday.
What's Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay.
Hi.
So, check and check. Okay, so we're gonna move back up to item number 1 and 2. We can finish with that.
I move that we pass the consent agenda.
I'll thank you. All right, so moved and seconded, consent agenda stays as standard, if you learn that.
Mayor Pro Tem Brooke Foley,
All right.
Councilmember Linnea Bailey,
Aye.
Councilmember Chris Grummer,
All right.
Councilmember Bob Hendrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Deborah Hines.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Make my reports, very brief. I've got, there are a couple of things that have just been going on that I wanted to bring people up to date on. The one that says report on meetings is a little bit off from what my request was, breaking it up as Occoquan County and Cities of Wood Creek. We did have a meeting, with Aqua Texas, with, Craig Blanchett, the president, Scott Fultz, their environmental, and their safe environmental guy, their communications person, their development person, boots on the ground, had a really good meeting with them. The slide presentation that Aqua presented to us, Wood Creek, Wimberley, especially, and Lon Shell, Commissioner Shell, with the county, is in your packet. They're talking about, they're very open about their recognition of their line loss leaks around, especially in Wood Creek North, which is where the big problems are. They've got $3 million plus set aside to do those leaks. They've got satellite and I guess there's a sonar and then a satellite process for finding the worst part. They've got those sort of pinpointed. So they've got $3 million set aside to fix that. So we'll do that. We talked about a master plan for the valley that would include Wood Creek, but also Wimberley and County for future development mostly in order to incorporate basically one water design, purple pipe, rainwater harvesting, air conditioning, condensate collection.
On that topic, can I ask you something? The purple pipe in the map didn't seem to come into Wood Creek, is that okay?
That's it, yeah. So that purple pipe, that part of the discussion of that purple pipe is just laying the lines to, there's already pipe running to Wood Creek. So that doesn't have, they don't have to redo that, but the problem with it is they can't run type 1 effluent through a type 2 infected pipe or pond. So although it had to be cleaned before they could use it, but so that the phases of that purple piping was okay. So if we're going to get it out to wherever we want to get it, it's going to cost this much and it's going to take this long. So that's what that is about. So that's their they don't have it budgeted because they don't know what we want to do with it. So they're looking for input from the stakeholders in the county to what do you want to do with it? How can you help us, with making these things happen? Because Commissioner Shell sees that, going, even down Winters Mill to water the wildflowers. Gina Fulkerson, Mayor Fulkerson in Wood Creek sees it as a potential, soccer fields. We see it as potential wildlife habitat area in the pond, between the golf course and Cypress Point. And so everybody's got things in mind they want to do this for. And Aqua said, well, we'll process it, but, you know, getting it where it needs to go is a collaborative effort. So that's kind of where that was coming from. Anyway, good meeting, beginning of many. There is a memorandum of understanding in process, that the cities have looked at, that the watershed association has looked at, that, Meadow Center has looked at, and that Aqua has looked at, and everybody sort of commented on it, going back and forth. But that memorandum of understanding is designed to get everybody on the same page on how this is all gonna work. But what Aqua would really like is when somebody comes to their development person, and says, hey, we wanna put some houses over here. You know, they first ask, well, where's the water coming from? If you expect them to get it from us, then, you know, there's some rules that the cities and the counties and the county have put together that says, you know, these are the expectations. I mean, it's mostly incentive driven. Because like, for instance, if it's in the county has very little control over, but if there's like, okay, this is what we as a valley are trying to do, and if you want to be a member of the valley, you know, if you want to join, you know, then these are the things that we want to see happen, and we'll help you get them. We'll help you do that. We'll incentivize it. So that was a lot of that. I did meet also with Commissioner Shell, specifically regarding roads and bridges that are not part of the city, but they could use a little help. And the answer I got was basically, well, the county doesn't really have any appetite for, you know, taking all that over right now. Maybe at some point, but he did point out a couple of interesting things. Like, for instance, if you are a private landowner with a road that is open for public traffic, that road's going to be closed periodically. You know, that shows that, you know, it is privately owned. So you've got to put the roadblock up, you know, and close it down for a day, a week, a month, or whatever. So we don't know that that's ever happened or happened recently. I mean, Commissioner Shell was saying, yeah, when I was a kid, I remember like every January 1st, that road was closed, you know, and that was a part of the deal. And I don't know whether the owners are aware of that or whatever, but the same thing would apply on Little Road. You know, it's a public road operated on private land. And so, you know, every once in a while, it's just, you know, you just close it down. So that was interesting. I didn't know that. But as far as the county coming in and like doing work on it, you know, to bring it up to speed, you know, they don't have the funds, and they don't. But he said that there could be something in the future where TxDOT would say, no, we want to be able to link Ranch Road 12 and 23, 25 better. And so they could actually take over that stretch from where our road ends, just above that dam, and then all the way around to the low water crossing and out Eagle Rock. You know, so it was an interesting discussion. He was very kind to give me the time. We talked about it. And then just finishing up on the Aqua Texas, there is we do have a franchise agreement that's been going back and forth between Aqua and the city. It's in the hands of our city manager now for some updates, and with the new attorneys, take a look at it. I did talk to the attorneys and told them that they'd be seeing that soon. So that's underway. And then just the cities of Wood Creek and Wimberley continue to meet on a monthly basis. We've been doing that ever since actually election day 2 years ago. It was Brent and Rebecca Minnick and I had lunch over at Longley and said, well, we should meet. We should get together and just make it happen. So we contacted Gina and she said, that's a great idea. So every month, unless there's scheduled conflicts, every month, Brent and Kevin and I meet with our counterparts in Wimberley, Gina Fulkerson, Rebecca Minnick, and Tim Pockett. And just sort of talk about how we can collaborate and what can be happening. We talked about, municipal judge in court. We talked about valley-wide marshal.
Have we progressed at all in the municipal?
No, because they say, well, we just don't really need a municipal court.
So they're saying that for themselves.
That for us, we don't really, we don't really need it, right, so we can't.
Okay.
But, so we're saying, okay, well, if we take the lead on that, we can say, okay, we can craft an interlocal that says that when you do have a need, then, you could use R4. And I did reach out, we met with, Judge Andy Cable, a year ago.
I don't think it was there, but I know you guys met.
But anyway, we talked to him about taking on our municipal court, and he was willing, it's just that we didn't think we could afford it. Now we don't think we really have that option, we need to find a way to afford it, so I reached out to him and just said, hey, you wanna, open the conversation back up again, so he said, yeah. We're probably just gonna have a little, coffee chat, and then bring it up to council after the election. So after we have the council reset, then, they can have that conversation with Judge Cable or anybody else that wants to do, county court. Then the last item on my report is just the reduced cost on the rainwater collection tanks. I do have an agenda item talking about sort of, bigger picture stuff and all the discussion with Aqua Texas about purple pipe and the master plan for the county. It all relates, but I was interested because I heard that there was a manufacturer in Dripping that makes rainwater collection tanks that was willing to do a pretty good discount if it was conservation funded. So I just called, his name is Pierce Jones, and his company is Texas Water Tanks. He does metal tanks in all sizes. I went out and visited their plant in the Springs. And talked to them, we met once again. He's willing to do just sort of across the board discount. My hope is that council can sit down and say, okay, well, if they give 20%, we match 20%, Aqua Texas comes back with some, maybe we can get the cost of those tanks down, to, basically half price. It would be a reimbursement process. They would contract, and it may be that we have multiple companies that are doing this, but they contract with the company when they show that they have purchased it, installed it, and it's operational. They can submit an invoice or receipts to the city, and then we process, reimbursement for our incentive portion. So it's still in the discussion stages, but it was promising. So that's my report.
Right, Mr. Mayor, one of the things that,
I like your tank, by the way.
thank you. It's 340 gallons, and I can begin to water my grass a little bit even. I've heard that it's not good to do the trees, they'll do fine, but the grass, it'll go from yellow to green. One of the things that you talked about was the water crossing, and I've heard a great deal of concern that, if nothing is done soon, don't know when soon is, we will end up having a catastrophic failure. And do the owners of that water crossing understand
It's their liability.
exactly that means if something that's a little heavier goes over it and lives are lost? Equipment doesn't matter, but lives do.
Yeah.
And that would be something that if they're not paying attention, that sort of thing, it's been brought to my attention several times, and I know it's either the property owner or the county or TxDOT, one of those two.
It was part of our discussion that Commissioner Shellman had. Says, it's like after the Memorial Day floods, and then the Halloween floods, they were looking at it, it's just like, this is not good. But it's like, there's nothing that anybody can do, it's private property, and it's the liability of the owner.
So the county will also intervene if it's deemed a hazard though. So it hasn't reached that status yet, and they do monitor it.
Yeah, the county.
It's on their radar.
Yeah, they had actually just been out there recently.
Yeah. So if it reaches a point where there's an actual risk, the county will step in.
And that was part of the conversation, is what if we have another, Halloween flood, there's no telling what's gonna happen on the bridge, it's just not gonna take that much pressure, so.
Yeah.
thank y'all for your indulgence. We have no, special reports, orders, or unfinished business, so we'll move to the, item number 6, which is the discuss and possible action on the tree board request for tree for Triangle Park.
Mr. Mayor, I could, have a point of order. Several months ago, we had a resolution stating that we would, as a group, have, no more than 3-hour meetings. We would have no more than, 2 items per, 2 agenda items. And in this particular agenda right now, we have about 6 items that are all from one person.
We broke that up with one item, and the city manager and I discussed it, and because it needs to be taken one at a time, we just broke it up into 3, and each one was a workshop. And then discussing possible action. So that's at the mayor's discretion, and the mayor just decided to go ahead with it. But Kevin and I talked about it through.
Can I also state that that's on behalf of the ordinance review committee and at the request of staff that I submitted those because staff was originally directed to prepare those documents and then reached out for assistance. So.
All right, so we can move on. Mayor Pro Tem Bowman.
Yes, let me see, this is a request and recommendation from the tree board, and ours is here to help me with this. We plan to plant a desert willow, I think it is, in Triangle Park. The funds we're requesting is to buy it, to plant it, and mulch it, initial care for it. You know, this will be a generational kind of thing. It's kind of the first tree that we're gonna put out there next to the gazebo. We talked to Pat Rawlings with Parks, and I think Parks is okay with it. We talked to a master naturalist who said this is a suitable thing to do. So, so we're asking for those funds to plant. Iris, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes, Jacob McElroy, who is also on the board, and I had a long conversation, have several conversations about the location from the tree, and we're trying to be careful regarding where it's placed, so it gets enough sunlight, and also that it doesn't distract drivers while they're driving on the streets. So we're trying to be cautious about that and the size of the tree. I have a 30-gallon desert willow on hold, and we may want to split that into 2 15-gallon ones and plant them in other parts of the city in public ways. This is money coming from the tree board fund, the tree fund, for replacing trees in town. And there is oak wilt in many different places. So we're just starting to spend some of that money. Arbor Day seemed like a good time to have a special event for planting the tree. So that being said, we're also talking about putting a plaque in place of the tree in case we're still under water restrictions and can't actually nurture it after we plant it. When you water a tree like that, you have to water it every other day at least for a month, 2 or 3 weeks to a month. So, so we're looking at not trying to spend a lot of money, but also trying to get as much as we can for the money and wanting to have plenty so that we can do the good job and also spread it out around the city. So this is a start.
Could we get a motion, please, that I could second?
I move that we approve the purchasing of the tree for Triangle Park.
I second.
John, I'm so sorry, I didn't even make a motion. Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian.
If I may, well, actually, you made the motion, Dorothy. You have first right to see.
I wholeheartedly support the planting of trees in the city of Wood Creek. That is a big part of why I, along with Councilmember Grummer, rewrote our ordinances to create a tree fund, to basically diversify our canopy to address oak wilt concerns for the long term. So you have my support, and the fact that you've consulted with an arborist on location is essential, because planting a tree in the wrong place is definitely not helpful. So, and I love that you are picking a tree that is drought tolerant, while also keeping in mind that it will not be susceptible to oak wilt. So thank you.
Go ahead. Also, a desert willow is a really pretty tree.
Yeah.
So I want to comment on that. I actually prefer the larger tree because it creates a sense of substance right away. It becomes noticed. But I also have a question regarding, I heard that you spoke with Parks, because I know Parks in the triangle still have plans for things. So I want to make sure that everybody's talking and coordinating, because they were talking about landscaping, and like, well, what if you put your tree there and they have plans for, sun plants and you know. So I want to make sure all those discussions are happening.
Very good questions.
But I personally, my preference would be a desert willow, and if for other trees down the, a 30-gallon one, if other trees for the city come down the road from the tree board, I will support those trees as well. So let's not worry about, oh, I only have so much money, because the city is very committed to protecting the trees as well as replacing trees. So thank you very much.
So to address your first comment, Pat Rawlings and I, along with Cheryl Mills, stood in the middle of the park, pointed with vision about what was going to go where and when. There will be a landscaping on the side, directionally challenged. It's a south side of the gazebo facing Wood Creek Drive, I think. And that will be a xeriscape sort of garden around the gazebo. And so we are planning on having a ceremony there for a tree, but we may not plant it there. We're going to look for a place that has plenty of space for a big tree, because in my heart, I saw a big tree as well, a desert willow, actually. But what was also suggested were things like there's a flaming sumac, redbud, and I forgot what the other one was. Oh, the Yopon hollies. But I'm really looking at trees that'll last a long time, and redbuds last about 15 to 17 years. Yeah. And so I appreciate your comments, and we'll take them to heart as we start preparing.
I also have another kind of, just to keep the conversations that everyone's having, is council has recently gone to get a grant for landscaping, and that landscaping was going to be for the triangle. So if we could all stay in communication on what plans are, I think a tree being placed is more important than the smaller landscaping that comes under it, or around it. But I want to make sure that once we get to that stage of landscaping, other than a tree, that we're keeping our communication going so that we don't have conflicts where this amount of people show up with these plants and this amount of people show up with these plants, and then suddenly they're like, oh wait, no, that was what I was gonna do.
Okay, so I trust the.
No, I'm all I'm asking is for
communication. Communicate. I just want to move on, because we spent the first hour, just on some of this, and I'd like to make sure we get through the agenda. So there doesn't seem to be any conflict on this.
I can just say yes.
Great, thank you.
So if we can, unless there's an objection, unless somebody has something else to add, I'd like to go ahead and call it on this.
Councilmember Chris Garrett,
Aye.
Councilmember Bob Hambrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Deborah Hines. Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Brett Pulley,
All right.
Councilmember Linnea Bailey.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passed.
Our next item, number 7, discuss and take possible action on the installation of caution sign at Jack Miller and Doolittle. Councilmember Bailey.
Okay, thank you. I originally put this agenda item together back in March, but then I decided that we should wait until after the roads were all paved. Several residents of Doolittle and Wildwood had expressed concerns over the danger at the intersection, because the intersection of Doolittle, Jack Miller, and Camp Young Judea Road, because they said traffic going back and forth from Camp Young Judea did not come to a full stop, or sometimes they assumed that that was a four-way stop, and it wasn't. So while I was researching for a different item, for the seat cushions, I ended up tallying all the tickets that were given between June and July along, Brook Hollow. And seemed to support,
Can I get a motion, please?
sorry.
I'll make a motion that we, include, well, I'll say two signs, at the corner of, Doolittle and, / Jack Miller and Campion Judea Road. And that each of those signs say, something to the effect of, cross traffic does not stop.
I second.
Okay. Thank you.
I did have a motion, I just didn't read it.
Sorry.
All right, so anyway, so I tallied the tickets and, along, there were 7 tickets on Jack Miller for failure to stop. 7 tickets for failure to
I
stop.
didn't know they were there.
And of those 7 tickets, 5 were from non-residents. Now, there were 8 failures to stop on Wood Creek, but those were all residents. So it did seem to support the contention that a lot of traffic coming out of Young Judea, they were not slowing down sufficiently or coming to complete stops. So, the sign itself won't be very expensive. About $47.50 each.
It will be, I found one for $33.40.
Oh, okay.
Is it yellow or white? I'm just curious.
It's yellow.
It's
And
yellow.
it has
So
two
two of those, one on either side?
And then I also researched, a little bit about, can we put it on the stop sign, save installing another one? And here's kind of one of the summaries from the Texas Unified Traffic Control Device Manual. Due to the critical nature of stop, warning signs. Any signs that do not directly pertain to management of traffic should not be mounted, but stop, yield, and warning are similar. And what we're saying here is you gotta stop, but your cross traffic does not stop.
Makes perfect sense.
So, I also included some pictures shamelessly to show how gorgeous our roads are.
Do you
Anyway,
yield the floor?
yes,
So I think this is a great idea. Anything that promotes traffic safety, especially in this area, which, as we're hearing, has consistent issues. My one question, based on your assessment of this, is should this not be a four-way stop then? If cross traffic is regularly not stopping, and it is implied that people are understanding it, that it should be a four-way stop, should that not be the conversation that we're having here?
oh, I do not. The people of Doolittle do not want to cross, they don't want to four-way stop. Because this is their road, generally people just make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn, and to make an additional impediment to their comings and goings, that they're very opposed to a four-way stop. They feel that this is their road. People from Camp Young Judea are the more occasional users, and they shouldn't have to interfere with their traffic flow.
This
They
seems
don't
like
see a
a-
danger.
This is off topic, where it's not a four-way stop discussion.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
so all I was gonna say is that, I think that if we approve this and those signs go up and the neighbors continue to complain that people are ignoring the sign, then at some other point, we can look at other options.
That's valid.
Well, your point aside, I thought, didn't we both put before we stop sign at this
No.
intersection already?
No, that's,
Okay.
so no follow.
The one that people are running.
This is actually, yeah, this is actually the entrance to the camp,
Oh.
Yeah.
and then across the street.
Okay, okay.
If I could, it's almost humorous, what can occur is that, people from Camden J are so happy to be dropping their kids off and leaving that they don't look to see if there's cars coming. And that would be the primary reason why people don't stop there.
Look,
And it's so rural that they think it's no big deal, which.
I will be honest, I've mistakenly started to go and almost was in an accident there because visually, for some reason, it feels like it should be a four-way stop. Truthfully, like going into Camp Young Judea myself, even though I know it's not a four-way stop, I almost pulled out in front of a person. After stopping, it just, something about the way that intersection is, the visual cue is weird, so.
So there's no further discussion, take a vote on this.
Councilmember Bob Hambrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Deborah Hines,
Hi,
Mayor Pro Tem Brett Foley,
All right,
Councilmember Linnea Bailey.
Aye.
Councilmember Chris Grummer,
Alright,
All right, the
Mayor, may I take a personal point of privilege? Finish that.
I was just saying, it passes unanimously. Thank
May
you.
I take a personal point of privilege and ask for a reset?
yeah. I'll second.
Yeah, we've got, okay, and we still got plenty to cover, so 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 4:40. goes.
Go ahead,
Yeah, let's go.
35.
All right, so I've got, 4:34, I'm gonna call the meeting back into order. We're on item number 8, discuss and take possible action on launching a volunteer program for the city of Wood Creek. What's number 9?
Yes, sir. I move that we approve launching the volunteer program for the city of Wood Creek by posting it on social media, including in the next email blast, posting it at City Hall and outdoor bulletin and inside the reception area, and publishing it on the city webpage, and including it in the upcoming neighbor to neighbor rollout.
I second.
I can send you that motion.
No, got it on the cover sheet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this program was created by Mayor Rasco and I, actually 2 years ago. Why we never launched it, I'm not exactly sure, it's just always kind of sat in pending business. But essentially, the city of Wood Creek is in regular need of volunteers to call on for a variety of service-based opportunities. This includes everything from events like Spectacular to block notifications, like with the road, things, to envelope stuffing whenever we've sent out surveys, event setup, again, Spectacular, Arbor Day. So we often need an extra hand or 5. The volunteer form is actually on SurveyMonkey, so it'll just collect the data for us passively, and nobody but staff or, counselor, people who need access to it could access it. It would be a voluntary sign up, so people are knowing they're giving in their information away. And in that form, you can see that sorry, the printouts were kind of weird. It was hard to get it off of SurveyMonkey for some reason. But you can see kind of the questions there where it's just like name, contact information, preferred contact, what kind of events would you like to volunteer for? So the idea is to kind of create this database so that whenever, okay, this year some of the Spectacular volunteers had other commitments, couldn't be, so then we were scrambling to find volunteers. So this would kind of create that list of known contacts that we could reach out to for things on a regular basis. It will also help us build community, and because a lot of times we turn to just the people we know or people who are already in service to the community, and we just end up asking the same people over and over, and we miss sort of that opportunity for the larger outreach, and including more citizens, because I think a lot of people are looking for community and seeking that connection, but don't always get asked, and maybe don't realize that they can step up, whether these opportunities exist, because oftentimes it's all sort of in-house or a direct network, kind of just you ask your neighbor or somebody you already know. So that's the point of it. And then, I already listed all the ways to launch it, so.
So I have a question. There's one item listed that I would like you to expand your understanding of what the wording is about. It says representing Wood Creek at Wimberley Valley events.
Yeah, so whenever we have, there's that emergency preparedness fair and we have a booth, there could be a citizen there, especially if they're like a paramedic or something, that's there helping with the booth, or food bowl happens all the time. The city of Wood Creek could have a little table there, and it doesn't have to be a city representative. So there's opportunities, for example, there's a conference tomorrow, the One Water Conference. An interested citizen could go to that as a city of Wood Creek resident and collect information for us without having to be a city official, right? So there's jobs that you don't have to be elected to do, that you could participate in, attending, we could have somebody regularly attend the Wimberley Council meetings to give reports, or, it was just one of those things where it was I forget, there was something that occurred that was residents could have done that. Chamber of Commerce events, I don't know, there's all kinds of weird little things.
Okay. I was
There's
just
a
curious,
luncheon.
Wood Creek ambassador.
Yeah. Council could vet that situation if they're representing Wood Creek, but if there's Pat Rawlings likely regularly represents Wood Creek in all kinds of settings, and that might be a job that he enjoys and that he could get a recognition for,
Well, Vicky Alford sits
Right.
on the film board.
Right, yeah.
I'm just curious what that was.
It's a good question. I don't remember what developed that item in particular, but there was an event that sparked it.
Just a quick comment, and I'm sure you got it covered. I get so many unsolicited requests, so this will be a limited list.
Yeah, this is
So-
mostly just one directional, meaning we're collecting data to hold. We will only seek assistance for the specific items from that person that they've listed. So if you've said, oh, I'd love to help out with events, then Spectacular rolls around. We'll look at all of those people that said they would love to help out with events, and we say, you know, hey, you signed up to be a potential volunteer. Do you have that availability? So no, this is not a spammy situation.
Okay, and just because some of the things I've signed up for, I see it's what's your address, what's your email, and what's your phone number. The thought would be, I would prefer to be contacted by email or.
That question's on there.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, got it.
Preferred method of communication.
Sorry, it was so small. I don't know why I couldn't get it to print.
Yeah, but sort of to her question, and maybe that we look at it and go, like, what we have at the end where it says your contact information will not be shared and goes on. I mean, that's, the wording on that is really good. Maybe we kind of lead with that. You know, say, you know, share your information, this is how it's gonna be used. You know, so you don't want them getting down to a couple of questions and going, no, I'm not comfortable with this. You
Let
know,
me look at
you know,
the,
because we deal with that with neighbors.
Yeah, and that's why I got rid of all those cards, because, you know, what's your dog's name, what, right hand or the left hand, if you name it.
No,
None of
we
that
really
stuff.
did have your dog's name.
It did, and it makes sense in its own way, but there's a time and a place for that, and it wasn't on that.
Yeah, if there's an emergency, we need to know.
If you have dogs, that's all we need.
Yeah,
I move to amend that we move the language,
we can
Okay.
just do this in a form,
and Deborah seconded.
it's administrative.
yeah, I can literally jump in there right now and do it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, for the cost, we learned with the other flyers, little half sheets, it's $150 max to print out and to put on every door. I was not only 130 then, so this won't cost that much to launch. So if the neighbor to neighbor program went, because you mentioned some kind of packet or something that would eventually go out. So just including, because it's the sign up form with the QR code is the only thing that needs to be printed or shared. And I will say QR codes don't work digitally, meaning putting a QR code in my email doesn't work because I can't
Get transferred.
you can't QR what's in your phone.
You got a printer.
Right, so you, whatever is in the email is just the link, if that makes sense, putting a QR, and I don't even know if we can QR code in our emails.
Not in an email.
Yeah, so, and same with online, like we don't wanna put on a QR code. I guess you kind of could, cause I could scan on my computer. Thoughts?
Further comments? All right, let's call the roll.
Okay. Councilmember Deborah Hines,
Hi,
Mayor Pro Tem Brett Foley,
Aye.
Councilmember Linnea Bailey. Aye. Councilmember Chris Grummer,
Aye.
Councilmember Bob Hambrick.
Aye.
Motion passed.
That's unanimously on to item number 9. And I would, it is to discuss and take possible action on city ordinances and their relation to rainwater collection within the city. And before I request a motion to that effect, you know, basically what I'm suggesting is that, you know, we take a look at the ordinances we have on the books as it regards rainwater collection, conservation, and my suggestion is to form an ad hoc work group, P and Z, ordinance review, and their liaisons to look at the ordinances and then come up with a plan for how we can do that. So,
I move that we create an ad hoc work group, members to be named after election to create a dynamic plan of action for the city to address rainwater collection and water conservation through ordinance and other programs.
Aye, second.
that sounds better than what I had. Dynamic. All right.
This item is already on planning and zoning's agenda for the first.
to meet with ORC and,
to look at rainwater collection.
okay, so we'll build on that.
So P and Z has direct jurisdiction only over zoning. And so anything out of sight of that, they don't necessarily own, and there's no problem with them taking this on. And members have already said they would like to join something like this. Mr. Palm in particular emailed me, seeking a meeting. So there's nothing wrong with more than one body discussing and gathering information and coming together. Because essentially that's what the purpose of the ad hoc group would be to allow the multiple bodies to have representatives meet and then present a larger package, so.
Yeah, we said that ordinance review can't look at zoning issues, and then zoning just looks at zoning issues. So if there are places in our ordinances, where, it's not zoning related, then having it on the zoning agenda is only half the job.
Right.
So that's what this is meant to work on, is just get the people who are closest to it to take a look, say, okay, this chapter here, this section here, here's some issues that are a problem. We've got those highlighted. There's an item in the packet that sort of deals with some of the issues. And so that's what I would ask the ad hoc group to do. Any other conversation? Vote on the motion.
Mayor Potem Bracoli,
Aye.
Councilmember Linnea Bailey. Aye. Councilmember Chris Grummer,
Alright,
Councilmember Bob Hebert,
Aye.
Councilmember Deborah Hines.
Hi.
Thank you very much, passing unanimously. Now we've got the last 6 items on here, not counting the announcements. But the 10 through 15, have to do with work that the ordinance review committee, has been doing. They've gone through the drafts. We've seen them before. They've been updated and finalized by staff. So that's what all these are dealing with. So I will turn it over to you, Councilmember Hines.
Yeah, so it looks like we're gonna enter into workshop.
Yeah, I mean, that would be
Okay.
entered workshop 447.
So I'd like to refer you all, I wrote 18, but I'm guessing my dyslexia tuned in here. I think it's 81. On page 81 in your packet. No, what in the world did I write? Okay, so let me find it really fast. I'm so sorry. So basically, with the council motion is in your packet. It tells you what we originally said we were gonna do, which is we were going to put the ORC recommendations into full ordinance format, discussed in a workshop, so that if there was any additional edits we wanted to make, it was ready to go, and if there weren't, we could potentially pass an ordinance, as we had already seen it once, and this would be the second reading. So that motion is in your packets. I don't know why I put page 18, that was insane. Oh, it's it's 83, page 83 in this agenda, which hopefully the pages didn't reorder other places, but anyway. So page 83 of this agenda packet, you will see our motion screenshotted. So there it is. That's what we asked to have happen. On page 66, this is for the workshop for animals. You'll see the new proposed ordinance in full ordinance format with all the necessary sort of whereases and documentation in there. On page 72, you have the version sent over in the report from ORC with their suggestions. So all I did on the new version was implement the suggestions from ORC with no additional edits. Council's job in the workshop at this point in time would be to suggest additional edits if we are wanting them.
so for clarification, 66 takes page, ORC's recommendations and puts it into ordinance format.
Yes,
Thank you.
If I could ask you one quick question, in this whole process, this has gone from ORC, it has now come to us for approval, is that correct?
If we wish, yeah.
And this is the second time it's come to us.
Yeah. And you could also have, you could request legal review before passage if you're concerned. I don't know the amount that Mr. Zek has read this in depth. These are also not super controversial edits. If I may just kind of add that personal opinion on the matter. Most of it is an adjustment of language to make it make more sense. Specifically on animals, there was a lot of weird language where it like left out farm animals and then specified fowl and it was just, so their concept was just to kind of clean it up and streamline it. You can see their edits, right, on page 66. We can run through them. So they expanded the definition of exotic and wild animals.
66?
No.
The 72 is where the,
Yeah.
Sorry, 66 was the new, 72 is the old. So on page 72, you can see their edits. So this is what ORC recommended. They expanded the definition of exotic and wild animals. They made some typographical changes, you know, eliminating the word chain and prevented from leaving the premises, because that's the other thing is the idea that something's physically restrained is a little bit different than making sure it's contained on your property. Those are two different concepts between, you know, because running at large really means getting outside of your property. It's not, oh, I've got them on a leash out and about, that's walking your dog. Those are two different things. And then you can see how they made the change from exotic to or wild animals, struck fowl and reptiles, because it was weird because we specifically focused on a really small group of animals, but then left out a lot of animals that are even more dangerous and often kept as pets. So that was kind of weird. You can see the other edits they have there. I mean, again, not much of it looks like it needs to go to legal to me, but you could definitely make that suggestion. I would support that if council feels more comfortable that way. They changed the idea that how the owner handler is responsible for removing feces from areas. They just kind of streamlined that. Feeding, they addressed feeding the animals because they extended it. You know, it was really focused on just geese and just deer, but it was like, you know, you're feeding of wild animals beyond like birds and things is not a great idea. So, yeah, and then there were some problems in the ordinance actually that they caught. There were some errors at the bottom under penalty where the references were off and kind of odd, so they adjusted some of that. That kind of stuff goes on throughout our code, actually. So it's because our code, it has been a long time since we had a full overhaul of the code. So there have been sections moved, deleted, and we don't always go through and tick all of the boxes and check everything. So, yeah, so, and in a couple of the chapters, they found some weird stuff like that they adjusted.
will you yield to Member Kimberly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it, and we've looked at this a couple times, to me, it looks like pretty common sense, just kind of cleaning up these ordinances. I mean, it's animals, fire prevention, and fireworks, you know, none of this is terribly, you know, controversial. I appreciate the work of the committee that they've done. Normally, I'm a big fan of let's send it to legal and let them look at it, but I mean, I've looked at it, and I don't see anything, you know, that bothers me, that necessarily would trigger maybe legal review here. I think it's fine. I think you've done good work, and I think it's pretty basic, and, you know, I support the changes.
I know, like, I agree with you, Mr. Bullock, that, this is great, 3 o'clock in the morning reading. About the time that I was doing it, about 3 o'clock in the morning, in the last week. I do believe, though, that sending it to legal would be good for the purposes of liability and nothing else. That way, we know that we're covered, and another set of eyes that are completely outside of us would have looked at it and said, yeah, that looks like it's good and reasonable to do.
On that topic, I mean, our city attorney, I mean, Roger Gordon did review these, correct? I mean,
No,
he had never laid out, he never laid out.
Mr. Gordon,
Legal and staff have not reviewed these.
so.
Legal
Oh,
and staff have not reviewed these. And I think it'd be wise for Charlie to maybe speak about this since he is the city attorney, if he will attest these to form, since he is the city attorney now. And just make sure that he's on board with it, but y'all can do what you want, but I think he needs to say if these are attest to form and he's comfortable with putting these as they're written in code.
That's always my,
That was Charlie.
yeah, it's always my preference to review the ordinances as to form. So that, because it's easier and safer to do it on the front end than have to try to fix something on the back end if someone has a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no objection to that.
Well, is there a way, just a point of order, that we can say, we, approve of these three, I guess, changed ordinances with regard to animals, fire prevention and fireworks, but we want the city attorney to look at them and make sure they're okay.
On the finish, I mean, in other words, we wouldn't have to go through 3 workshops, and 3 deals. We can just say, okay, we'll come out of workshop, and come up and have a motion to proceed however we want to proceed. So that is an option.
The only purpose for the workshop is if council has additional edits they wanted to make, so that we could freely talk and debate without motion, and then form one final motion. So if there's no other debate,
I just know that when I looked at it, I said, well, it's like, it hasn't really changed from when we looked at it before. So I don't really have anything to add. Or the one item, is just from personal experience. And that is, and it may be more of a fencing thing, I don't know, but anyway, with a dog bite on, our kids' property. Because it was electronic fence. And the county's ordinance, says that an electronic fence is not adequate restraint, for that purpose. And so you have to, if you're not in control of it, he said that, listen, if you're at the house and they're out behind the, invisible fence, that's fine. But if you're gone and they're out, with an invisible fence, then they're not the same level of restraint. So I don't know where that goes, but, the city and county ordinances should probably do a better job of matching up.
the ORC is also looking at electronic fences. They've been working on it. Their last statement on it was they felt that their current recommendation was sufficient, because essentially that isn't something the city could necessarily regulate if that's recognized as an okay fence, and then it really goes back. But they have another meeting, so they might change that at the end. But I'm not sure they were going to change the context of the ordinance. It seemed to me the direction was going to be more informationally based. And as
This actually, so basically the deputy said, hey, it's like, nobody's in trouble here, everything's good, everything's cool, but, here's what you need to do. And that is, so there's signs up now, all along the border that says, there are dogs here, they have free range, and that's it. So it's just like, it would be more instructional and educational, I think, than creating some new code. Anyway, it was the only thing on my mind as it relates to.
I mean, my preference would be, let's come out of the workshop, I would be happy either to articulate or have someone else articulate a motion that we, approve these revisions to these code sections, provided city attorney has a chance to take a look at them and approve.
The only thing, just to feel like I've done my due diligence representing ORC here, is if everybody looks at page 65 of their report that they sent to us. These were things that came up in their meeting together that didn't necessarily make it into their edits.
Can you say 65 of their report?
No, 65 of the packet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it just, these were things that didn't make it by, majority vote, but they did put in the report. So I just wanted to make sure council saw that. One of the ones was the committee was divided on sparklers, whether or not they should be allowed in the city. Currently, they are prohibited with the rest of the fireworks. The other one being, providing a handout about why feeding wild animals isn't great. Just so people really understand that concept, because a lot of people really love the deer, and they don't get that, like, what's going on when you feed them. And then the last one was emphasizing that the burn ban actually impacts fire pits. And what I learned through this process was grilling as well. I did not know that grilling was prohibited when there's a burn ban in place. And they did adjust our code to make that more explicit.
Are we okay?
I think we're fine. I just wanted to highlight that because that was Mr. Miller trying to make sure all of his committee members are heard even when they're voted down.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'm gonna call us out of workshop at 5:01. Back in regular session.
I can make a motion if you want.
Go, please.
I would, make a motion that we approve the recommended changes to chapter 93, fire prevention and protection, chapter 94 regarding fireworks, chapter 90 regarding animals, as proposed by the ordinance review committee, provided that legal has an opportunity to review these changes and advise us.
Second by Councilmember Brummer.
Did you get that, Susanna?
Okay, so you're asking council to approve the recommended changes to chapters 93, 94, and 90 as proposed by ORC, provided legal has the opportunity to review and advise if there's any changes.
Yeah. That sounds right. All right. So we have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Councilmember Linnea Bailey. Aye. Councilmember Chris Grummer.
Aye.
Councilmember Bob Hendrick.
Right.
Councilmember Deborah Hines. Mayor Pro Tem Buckley.
Say aye, and thanks to the committee for all that work.
Yes. Yeah. All right, that passes unanimously. We have two announcements before adjourning. One is to remind everybody about the Spooktacular this Sunday. A lot of work has been done, a lot of work left to do. We really need all hands on deck. And if you want to dress up like a sailor, so you can do all hands on deck, not do stuff back. And then also, a reminder about the Arbor Day event on November 4th, the Triangle, that's gonna be from 10 to 2. The Spooktacular starts at 4:45 or
Roads are blocked at 4:30.
4:30. Okay, so starting on Deerfield, parade down Wood Creek to Double J. And Double J's got food and drink for sale. So, but they've been very cooperative, as Pat was saying. So we're thrilled about that. And Iris and the tree board have worked really hard to get this Arbor Day thing going, which is, by the way, a requirement of Tree City USA. We have to do an Arbor Day celebration of some sort, every year. So they're doing a really nice job. Any additions to those, any elaboration on the announcements? Then,
I move to adjourn.
Second.
yeah.
5:04.
Good job, y'all. Good job.
Give me 1 second. Good job.